So do you pay off the loan in 3 years typically? Like
No.
what's it like?
So I talked to multiple people who are all from the one of some of the best business schools. Like one guy went to Chicago Booth. It's among the top three,
Hmm,
top four schools in the US.
hmm, hmm,
He had a loan.
hmm,
He's an undergrad from UCLA. Okay, Indian guy,
hmm.
good friend of mine. So he had a loan of $210,000 in 2015 when he graduated. So I talked to him
So
in
which degree
2022,
did he
MBA,
go for?
MBA in
Executive or normal?
regular MBA.
Regular
And he's
MBA.
a citizen
Okay.
of the US, so he didn't have a problem. So I
Okay.
asked him,
Okay.
but he's a pretty much Indian guy in every respect.
Hmm,
Customs, everything
hmm.
is Indian in
Okay.
nature. So I was having a chat with him
Okay.
later, 2022, when I was leaving Cisco, saying, "Hey, what's happening?"
Hmm,
By the time he was in a pretty senior position in Cisco, so how much loan do you have right now? He's like,
hmm.
dude, I still have to pay $200,000 of debt. So he's only paid $10,000 over almost like 7 to 8 years, 7 years.
And interest is going on.
Interest is going on exactly. So the only way you can pay it faster is you have to pay more than that interest, right? To pay down the loan
Yeah.
faster.
Yeah.
But the thing with the US is that sometimes even when you try to pay back faster, right, they don't necessarily
Hmm.
decrease the duration. It's like they got a weird calculation that you're locked in for the
Pay
duration.
that amount of interest. Okay.
So if you want to repay everything, right, you pay the entire 20 years amount together at one shot, right? That is, they will not
Okay.
decrease the interest just because you're trying to prepay it.
Okay. In India, it's like if you pay
India is different,
10,000
I think. Yeah,
extra,
India
so
India is
yeah.
different.
Huh.
It's a floating point average, which basically
Hmm,
means
hmm,
that like the number will change if you begin to pay more of it, right? Then they'll just adjust the numbers
True. True.
accordingly.
Principal
But in
security.
US,
Principal.
that is, they're basically saying that that entire 20 years of payment, they'll calculate the total number and that entire money, like say if you take 20 lakh loan for 20 years and the total cost of principal and interest is coming to like 35, 38 lakhs. You have to pay 38
Hmm.
lakhs at one shot to close that interest. That doesn't make any sense
Oh,
for you, right?
yeah.
Why should you pay
Yeah.
everything at one shot? I'll pay it over 20 years. And so no, there's no
Hmm.
incentive to
Hmm.
prepay the loan. And
Ah,
I'm just
true.
saying that it's a little crazy. If you take these loans, uh, paying back
So,
is
but
tough.
but when an Indian guy goes, so he will take loan from India only, na? I think, or the loan is US based. What's it like?
Do your research. That's all I'm saying. I'm just
Okay,
saying be
okay,
aware
in
of
that.
it. Just be aware of all the
Got it.
technicalities, right? What happens when you
Yeah.
foreclose? Have a conversation.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
I don't think many companies give you these loans. For example, if you go to MIT or Harvard, they have their own tie-up with their own local credit union banks.
Okay.
So they'll come to you saying,
Okay.
Array, we will give you funding. Like,
Hmm.
for example,
Hmm.
Stanford or Harvard, if the cost of the program is whatever, $280,000, $300,000 for 2 years, they will say, don't worry,
Hmm.
we'll give you, our bank will give you funding.
Hmm.
But then the foolish guy will say, okay, let's take up the funding. But then you should ask the question, what happens in foreclosure? Can I foreclose earlier, right?
Okay. Hmm.
And maybe in
Hmm.
India, if you go try to take a loan for $300,000, nobody will give you the loan.
True.
You need to show
True.
collateral property, like maybe you need to show us property for double the amount to get that much loan. I don't know, man. I don't
Okay.
know the things because
Okay.
I got my education done for free, but then it's just very difficult for most people. Got to be very thoughtful when you're doing all these degrees. Rich people, it makes no problem. Like all Narayana
That's to
Murthy's
know.
kids, they all
Nothing to
no
think
problem.
about.
They can go out, study. That's all fine. Money is not a problem, but everybody else they got to think a lot. So I think that's one of the reasons why people study in India because studying outside is very very expensive, and secondly, there's no
Yeah, true.
guarantee that you'll get a good job or this H1B craziness is making everything more uncomfortable.
What about Europe? The visa and
Okay, so Europe, I would say, depends on which place you target. So Europe also is now getting a feel that Indians and Chinese are willing to pay for the degrees. So they look at Indians and
okay.
Chinese as cash cows. But there are
Okay.
exceptions. For example, you could go to Germany, for example.
Hmm. Hmm.
And in Germany, in many universities, there's no tuition fees.
Hmm. I've heard of it, huh?
So you could get a management degree done and not pay any tuition, right? So it's going to be a huge benefit. And I think
Hmm.
you just need to pay a nominal living expenses also minimal. So I think in some
Hmm. Hmm.
countries it's very cheap. You can manage, and definitely it's not as expensive as US, Europe. Because of the socialist nature, you can go to France. You can go, but only thing in Europe is that you need to know the local language. Just be aware of it. Like other
In
than
Germany, so
UK,
you have to know.
UK, Ireland, and maybe small sections in Switzerland. By the way, Switzerland, most people talk German, by the way, not English. But they do understand a little
Okay.
bit of English. But outside UK and Switzerland, most other places, you have to know the local language.
Okay.
Germany also,
Okay.
like they say that education is in uh, English and all that. But then end of the day, if you want to find a job, you have to know the local language.
You
Otherwise, you
you have
cannot
to know the
get work
German.
done. Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's something like if you're planning that, then maybe you need to begin pick up some bare basics, right? Begin take up some classes,
Hmm.
get some
Hmm.
level 1, level 2 proficiency in those spaces. Canada has got a option again. There's something to think over. Like they got a skilled employee permit visa. So a lot of people, you
Okay.
basically you could count. They give you points for each one of your achievements, like your undergrad degree, if you have some work experience, and so on. So uh, ultimately, the purpose of doing all the degrees, you want to work abroad, right? I think that's the sole aim of
Hmm.
many of these
Hmm.
degrees. So maybe in Canada, you don't even need to get a degree. You can directly sit in India and apply for the skilled immigrant program. If you get selected, they'll send you a green card over, and with a job offer, they send it to you in India. And I know lots and lots of
Okay.
people, most of them from North India, from the Punjab, Delhi region, have gone to Canada that way.
Okay.
So you can get your like there, you can do some job matching on online websites, and it's run by the government. So you are put in your application, and you can count the points yourself. If you hit above a certain category of like a certain number of points, automatically you will get the work visa. And
Okay.
you can also improve your points by studying French, for example. That's you can get some automatically
Okay.
30 points. Like I think the cutoff is I don't know the number. It's like 700 points something, or whatever
Okay.
500 points something, and 30 points just come from learning French, for example. So I'm just saying there's a lot of
This is
ways to
huh.
work abroad without necessarily spending money on education. So I'm saying that
Hmm.
even look
Hmm.
at those options.
Hmm.
Don't
Hmm.
always try to find a low cost way of financing your degrees. That's a smart way to do
Hmm.
it. Foolish way to do it is throw money at everything, right? Hoping that things work out. Because even with the IAMs, when you're spending a lot of money, right, there's no guarantee that you'll get a good job and you can pay down these loans. Like all these numbers you see in paper, like yesterday I was seeing the IAM Bangalore average pays like a 30 lakh, uh, 31 lakh compensation.
Hmm. Hmm.
Seriously, is that true? I mean, these numbers can all be fudged in the way you want. In the sense, I'm not saying doing anything wrong, but what I'm trying to say is that average is something which you need to always get into the details. How do you
Ah.
calculate an average? What are you trying to calculate, right? Like, are you including for the basics? Like, are you including base compensation? Are you including the bonus? Or including stock options? That's one level of discussion. Are you
Hmm.
including foreign
Hmm.
offers into the calculation? Are you?
Hmm.
But in India, there's something called take-home salary versus CTC.
Ah.
CTC, they put
Hmm.
PF, gratuity, all that under CTC, like travel allowance. A lot of things come under CTC. So it's very difficult to understand like what really is compensation. So something I recommend students is there's something called audited IM Ahmedabad placement report. Check for the document online. They publish it every
You
year.
told. Huh. Yeah.
It's called IPRS, Audited IM Ahmedabad Placement Report. Most IMs are doing it, but soon everybody dropped out because nobody wants to talk the truth. So only IM
Okay.
Ahmedabad is doing it right now. So look at the numbers and you have a good sense of like different specializations. How much can you get? And according to location, according to work experience, they give you all these granular data. I think that's a good indicator of how much compensation you can expect. Don't go by the media nonsense like "Utna paisa mila, utna paisa," like it's all
Hmm.
rubbish.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like
True.
one
True.
of the IIT, the head of placements was telling me that like recently, I think one IIT said that they were crore plus package में इतना लोगों को offer मिला. It's rubbish. So IITs decided after that media report came out that they will stop talking to media about placement numbers
Hmm.
because it is
Hmm.
causing too much because it's a set of nonsensical numbers. You should
Hmm.
understand how the calculations happen to make any sense of those numbers. Just pure numbers, right? Giving one number doesn't mean anything,
True. True.
right? So it is like saying, for example, if you go to a location and you're you go to a location, you're trying to find the average height of people, right? You see one person who
Hmm.
is 6 feet tall. And now
Hmm.
using that one person, can you decide what is the average height of the population? You cannot
Hmm.
because that's
Hmm.
one number, right? Now the average can be
Hmm.
much lower, it can be much higher. Who knows? Just one observation cannot help. Likewise, it all depends, man. So if you look at like US placement reports, like I told you, they remove the top 20 percentage numbers, they remove the bottom 20 percentage numbers. So they remove the edges
Oh,
of the bell curve and then find the average.
okay.
In India, what
Okay.
happens is they keep the edges of the distribution. So what happens is that there's a
Okay.
lot of skew in one direction.
So isn't it better to look at the median instead of the average?
That's a problem, right? Like a median is a much better reflection, but again, media doesn't understand statistics. That's part of the problem,
Huh,
right? So
huh,
most people don't talk about median; they
huh.
always talk about average.
Hmm,
That's definitely
hmm.
part of the problem. So that's something you should look. If you're a smart person, you will be looking at for median. You'll be looking at this audited placement report from IIM Ahmedabad. You're looking at how much they're paying because no college can get paid more than IIM Ahmedabad. That's like the best you can ever get.
True, true.
That
Because
way,
it's a senior degree and it's a good college.
no, companies cannot pay differently to different people typically, right? Like they don't do it
Hmm,
generally. It only causes a lot of
hmm.
problems in the workplace. Like if I hire a person Excel or I pay them 20% lower, today it's fine, but tomorrow it'll cause a lot of HR problems. And having worked in HR, I don't want problems.
Okay, okay.
Because see, end of the day, I don't care where you're from. As long as you perform in the workplace, your
True,
performance will decide your
true.
future compensation, not where you came from.
Hmm,
Or somebody comes
hmm.
to me saying, I am IIT gold medalist, pay me the highest. I don't care whether IIT gold medalist can. Will you, like at the end of the first year, all I care about is, तुमने काम में क्या किया, right? What is your performance?
Yeah.
What did you do? I don't care about your background. So I'm just saying that
Hmm,
like, I think people need to be realistic that companies only care about what you bring to the table inside the company, not all the
hmm.
competitions you won, the prizes you won, your GPA, all that is all nonsense.
Uh, and one thing was, I saw the placement reports. You told about the IIM Ahmedabad placement report also. I saw MDI and ISP reports also. So
They're
the
not
thing I
audited.
noticed,
The problem is they're not audited. Is it audited or not?
IIM Ahmedabad was audited, and other two, I think they are following some department that government has mandated, but I don't know if they are audited
So
or
that
not.
website, the IPRS website, is a group
Yeah,
of
yeah.
common standards. So I think SPJN also puts up their data, that website. So I think if it is from their website, if you got the information, I think you can believe it. But don't
Then
believe the self-audited reports. I don't think
okay.
it's trustworthy because they're all in a
No,
competition. Like
okay.
MDI is trying to prove that they are better than SPJN. SPJN is trying to prove that they're better than JBIMS. JBIMS is trying to prove they're better than IIT Bombay.
Okay.
There's also a NITI, right, which has become IIM Mumbai.
Yeah, yeah,
They've
yeah,
always been
yeah.
in a competition with IIT Bombay. So they have all the
Okay.
drama happening in the background. So you're not aware of these things. So don't go too much by those numbers. I would urge you to
No,
look at audited numbers.
so the thing I noticed was the companies and the sectors. So, like you said, I'm asking, I saw that McKinsey, BCG, Bain were present in that ISB placement report also, and in MDI also maybe. So if in ISB we go with the average experience of 4 to 5 years, then are they consulting jobs and at what position are they recruiting? Because earlier you said because there's so much rigor, they prefer to hire young and then eventually they will leave. The candidate will leave.
It's tricky. Like,
Happen.
most of them may join at the same level. Okay, you don't get extra
Okay,
credit just because you come in with a lot more work experience.
okay,
Okay, so I think most entry level positions are like junior analyst positions at McKinsey. That's really where people make it. I think if you come with an MBA degree, you come into analyst positions. Compared to
yeah.
undergrad from
In
IITs,
list
you
of
come into
consulting.
junior analyst versus like
Hmm,
MBA
hmm,
analyst positions. Very rarely
hmm.
will they put a position into a senior analyst positions because you have to prove yourself.
Okay,
They'd prefer that they
okay,
take you as an analyst and give you a fast track to growth rather than
hmm,
hire you directly as a senior analyst. They want
okay,
to watch you perform and then give you a promotion. You may get a promotion in 6 months, right? You don't need to wait for like
okay,
typically maybe I'm just giving a guessing here. If it takes 2 years to get the promotion, if you bring more work experience, they'll only watch you for 6 months to 1 year, then give you a promotion.
okay,
So I think that's what
okay,
companies do. But definitely, like they try to bring you all of this at the same level as much as possible. But people with work experience know how to navigate the world faster.
it's better.
They will find an easy way to go up the ranks. People who come in without work experience are seeing the work world for the first time in their lives, and it's a struggle. It's not easy. And you read about the
Okay.
recent case, right? One guy from IIT Madras and IIM Calcutta who jumped off a building.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
recent news. Same thing. If you
Hmm,
look very carefully at his life, you will see the same stuff. Like I'm not naming the company, but one of the top companies, consulting
hmm,
companies, where the problem was
hmm.
too much work pressure, tough feedback, harsh feedback. Dude, you cannot have a thin skin in consulting, right? You cannot be like, "Are itna gali diya mujhe." Like, I don't know, if that's the way you are, you should not be in consulting. You should be ready to take it. Like, if you have very thick skin, you can take it. If you're like a politician, then you should be in that space. You're like, "Are wo kya bola?" Both galti kiya. If you're that sort of person, you cannot survive in consulting. So I think that gives I mean, to be fair, you didn't have too much work experience. And I think it's very, very unfortunate. And I feel, for example, that the world is big. What happened? Like, even if you take a sabbatical for 5 years or 10 years, I'm telling you, your life will not change. You will recover everything after. If you put concentrated effort for 3-4 years, you'll get back everything of what you lost earlier. So you, like, for example, Karthik here, I felt this myself. Like, there are times when I felt that I could have not done anything for 10 or 15 years of my life. But just by working hard for 5-6 years, right, I could have made probably the same as whatever. I could have claimed everything of what I had made earlier. So I'm saying that when people begin their career, the compensation is low, the position they are in is low. And when you get promotions, typically it's correlated with age, whether you like it or not, right? Like, that's the way it works. You can't find 30-year-old CEOs. It doesn't happen. It's not like you are not good enough or not smart enough, but it will not happen.
Work experience, age,
All of
then promotion.
I think there's a high correlation between age. They say work experience, but actually the true number they're tracking is age. If they're like, this guy has in his 40s and 50s, they think that you're good, even if you're not good. But then if you're 20s and 30s, even if you're good, they'll think you're not good. So that's what I'm trying to say. So I think a lot of it's driven by age. So relax. I think all the tension is because people don't understand how the working world is. And they take things too seriously. Like, see, whatever you do in life, right? For every person who praises you, one person will criticize you. And you should live up to it, right? That's how the world is. It's not good or bad. That's how the world is. Now, if you're too impressionable, like, I get a lot of galis when I put my YouTube videos. I put very good content. I don't even talk about anything controversial. Some people just slam me all the time. I'm like, that's fine. That's okay. I mean, that's part of life. That just happens. People criticize anything.
So your content is.
I hear you, but I'm saying people criticize anything. Just saying that's the nature of the world. And if you don't like feedback, negative feedback, then you should not have an online presence, right? You should stay back from everything. Unless you're ready for gali, you should not come to social media.
So both the spectrums you will get.